going on, everybody, and welcome back to Bourbon of the Week. My name's Chris. I'm going to be your host for today, and this is Blood Oath Pact 7. I know we're a little bit late to the party on this one, but this is another bottle that my brother-in-law let me borrow for our 2021 Whiskey of the Year candidate, so I figured I might as well try it out, get it on the ranking sheet before we give it back to him. But everybody knows before we get started on all of that, time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. All right. So this is Blood Oath Pact 7. This comes from Lux Row Distilleries, and I'm going to tell you everything I hate about this bottle before we get started. Number one, it is sourced from undisclosed distillery or distilleries in Kentucky, so we don't know where it's from. Number two, it's non-age stated, although it's supposed to be 8 and 14-year-old bourbons in it. It's still non-age stated, so we don't know an age on it. Number three, we don't know the mash bill on this. Obviously, it's distilled by multiple distilleries, so we're not going to know an exact mash bill. But all of these things leading to we don't know anything about this bottle, and there's a reason for that, which we're going to get to on this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week. This comes in at 98.6 proof. This is the Pact 7. I believe this comes in like a cool case or a cool box or something like that, because for $100, they better give you something other than the bourbon that comes in this glass. At least that's the way I feel about it. But you know the rules: price, taste, drinkability. We're going to see where this falls on our ranking sheet. Make sure you click that like, make sure you click that subscribe button, help the algorithm out just a little bit. But let's get into this quickly. We don't want to keep you too long today. Drinkability on this, 98.6, is that what I said? 98.6, the perfect human temperature, right? Which makes you think it should be a good proof to put this bottle at, but drink's a little hot, if you ask me. That's just me personally. A lot of these things are all personal. If you can hear, should I get to, I'm going to turn the dryer off. Hold on one sec. I don't know if you can hear that, but I could, so it was bothering me. 98.6, not like a terrible proof, right? We're right in that 100 proof range, but it drinks a little hot, if you ask me. Now, I had a drink earlier tonight, so I do think that my palate is already set at that 80 proof, so everything over 80 proof is going to seem a little bit hotter. But that's how I usually start these reviews, right? I want to start my palate out recognizing alcohol, realizing this is what a base 80 proof bourbon tastes like, and then go from there. And this just sips a little hot for me. I definitely don't think it's crazy over the 98.6, but I'd put it in that 105 to 107 range if I drank this blind. At least I think. Everybody says this is what I would do if I drank it blind, yet you're not drinking it blind, so how do you really know? I still think this sips a little bit over its proof, not a lot, but at the same time, we can't give it the greatest score on drinkability, so we're going to give this like a, let's give it like a 7.25 when it comes to drinkability on this. I don't think it sips like super hot, don't get me wrong. There's not a lot of ethanol kick over the proof, but there's still enough to be like, for what I'm paying for this, it probably should sip just a little bit easier. At least that's the way I feel. That's going to push us right into taste on this. So the one thing that I did not mention is this is a finished bourbon. This is finished in Saufernes barrels. Don't know how to pronounce it. Don't really care, to be quite honest with you. It's a wine. It looks like a white wine from what I've looked up online. It's apparently a sweet wine, which is interesting for me here because I don't get a lot of sweet notes. Now I get a fruity note on this, but it's not so much a fruit-like sweet note as much as it is just like a dried tannin, raisin, barrel, oak, char note. Now, again, I think it's more raisin than it is like a strawberry or a peach or a pear or anything like that. But at the same time, it just doesn't seem to balance itself out with anything. It's boring, to be quite honest with you. There's no roller coaster ride that you're going on. It's not super sweet or super rye. It doesn't really taste like there's any rye. If there is rye in this, I don't believe that there's a lot, but we'll never know because it's an undisclosed mash bill. It's interesting how it is an older bourbon. So they talk about it's non-age stated, but it's between 8 and 14 years or a combination of 8 and 14-year-old bourbons. And you get that. You get that dry, that oak, that leather, that age note. All of these things definitely play a part, but it's so short on the front and then so long on the oak that it's just kind of, it's dull. It's underwhelming, underperforming if you ask me. I'm going to take another sip though because I only had one, and let's see if I really think that that's what I don't want to give it a great score. So let's make sure I can confirm that with one more sip. Yeah, see, it's just pretty bland to me. If you ask me, for a bourbon that prides itself on the blending process, this one doesn't seem all that well blended. I haven't had a Pact 6, I haven't had a Pact 5, I haven't had a 1, 2, or 3, or 4, so I haven't had any of these. But for this being my first experience at the Pact 7, it just kind of seems like a lot of bourbons these days, they start these trends, right? And then they realize, holy crap, we're making money off these. These are flying off the shelves. We only put out 4,100 bottles and they all sold out immediately. Well, yeah, the way bourbon's going, that's going to happen. But if you keep putting out product that's underperforming and underwhelming, then soon enough people are going to stop buying it, especially at the price point that this is put at. That's why now we go back to something like Stagg Jr. or George T. Stagg, where they pulled it, right? They're not going to put out a 2021 release of George T. Stagg, or, they're changing Stagg Jr. to Stagg instead of Stagg Jr. And they're doing these things, one, maybe because of marketing, or maybe it just didn't live up to the quality and they didn't want to put it out, which I respect a little bit more than a company that maybe wants to just put it out because no matter what they put in the bottle, if it has the namesake behind it, it's going to sell. And that seems to be what I'm getting with this bottle here myself. So as for taste, I'm going to give it a pretty bad score. This isn't my favorite flavor profile. I don't really like anything too much about it. I'm going to give it like a 4.42 when it comes to taste on this. And last but certainly not least, that's going to bring us into price on this. And what does this cost you? This is going to break out of the bank at $100 MSRP. I believe it's $109 here in Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly. Now, the one thing I will tell you about this bottle is they haven't gone up in price all that much in the past 7 or 8 years. 7 years, pack 7, so 7 years. It's only at a $10 increase from what I'm reading. So it started out at $90, now it's $100. Compared to what a lot of these other bottles have gone up from something like Booker's that started out at $60 or $55 and now they're all the way up to $90. I don't hate them for at least one, either trying to keep up with the price because they're putting out a less quality bourbon. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're putting out something they don't believe deserves to be $120, $130, where they know they could get that money for them. So I kind of respect that side of things for not going up just because the market demands it. But at the same time, I don't think this deserves to be a $100 bottle of bourbon in the first place. Maybe pack 1 and pack 2 deserve to be a $100 bottle of bourbon, and now they're just riding the wave because they know that they can. And again, this is all speculation. I don't know anything about Luxco. I don't know anything about the people in charge here. But this is just what I feel, and this is how I think about these things as I go throughout these videos. So $100, $109, whatever you're paying for these, I wouldn't pick up this bottle myself. I thought about picking it up. Thank God my brother-in-law picked it up and I get to try it. But it's not my favorite. It actually fell, I think, second in our 2020, second to last, I apologize, in our 2021 Whiskey of the Year awards. So again, doing this blind, it still didn't stand up to anything else that was being put out. And those were all pretty similar when it came to price point. So again, this is going to get a pretty bad score on price. I'm going to give it like a 6.17 when it comes to price on this. But listen, while I have these scores up, let's send it over to this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week and talk about why it's called Blood Oath, because it's kind of an interesting story. Let's do this. So we're going to keep this just like this bottle, short and sweet. This was created in 2014, and the reason it's called Blood Oath is because the gentleman behind this product, Rempe, I believe is how you pronounce his name, put a Blood Oath Pact saying that he would be the only person to know the bourbons that go into this bottle, which is interesting to me because if anything were to happen to him, nobody could take over this process. I guess they could start their own and start doing it on their own, but at the same time, we'll never know what's in these bottles if anything were to ever happen to this man. Now, do I like the fact that he's keeping it secret? Absolutely not. One of the things I love about a lot of distilleries, even if it's not the best bourbon inside, if they tell you what it is, then you can at least judge it off of what it is. Maybe it's a 2-year-old bourbon and it tastes fantastic. Maybe it's a 14-year-old bourbon and it doesn't. But if you don't know what's in it, there's no way you're going to be able to tell. So Blood Oath, sure, if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. As for me, though, I like a little bit more clarity when it comes to the bourbons that I'm drinking. What about you? Cheers. But listen, Blood Oath can call itself whatever it wants. If it's not good, it's not good. And quite frankly, as you see, it fell at a 5.94 on our ranking sheet here. And that's where it deserves to be, damn near at the bottom. Because to be quite honest, the word I'm going to use here, expectations. You have high expectations for a $100 bottle coming out of Luxco, coming out of it's behind the glass case here at Fine Wine and Good Spirits. It's the 7th series. It's a limited release, and you can't just put all these names on things anymore and expect to get a great result. Because to be quite honest with you, there's just way too much good bourbon coming out these days to just ride the high of the past. So that's where I'm going to put this at the bottom of the list. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this bottle. I haven't heard too much about it outside of the initial release. But that's where we're going to leave you for today. Make sure you check me out on Instagram at Bourbon of the Week. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. we drop an image of the bourbon that we're going to review. You can go on and try and guess my score. If you guess the closest, I'll give you a shout out on the channel, as well as enter you in a drawing for some monthly prizes such as custom Glencairns. We got hoodies, t-shirts, hats, all kinds of stuff like that. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out our Patreon, and if you want to chat with us 24/7, come join our Discord. Both of those links in the description below. But that's where we're going to leave you. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly, and always stay healthy, stay happy, stay drinking. Cheers, y'all.